computer will not stick. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm gonna turn it to our first presenter this evening, and in the chat is the order of the presenters. So first up is Sarah and Lori, followed by Michael and Leif, then Jenny and Beth, then Alex and Melissa, followed by Abby and Jackie, and then Ken and Christina. Very good. If you don't have screen sharing capabilities yet, please let me know, but I believe everybody who is presenting does have that. And I will turn it to our first presenters. Lori.
Okay. Let's see.
As you're getting set up, Lori, just a reminder to everybody, let's save questions for the end of the presentation. And if you need to mute or go off video at any time, please feel free, but come back and engage with our speakers when it's time.
Okie doke. So can everybody see the presentation? Or I should say, can anybody not see it? Okay, I see Allison's thumbs up. I have two different monitors, so I kind of have to go back and forth. Okay, so our presentation, when I say our, I mean Sarah and I, is entitled Use a Subtle Approach, Stony Run Riparian Corridor Restoration. The facility we toured was in East Cocalico Township, which you can see here where it's located within the county. And this was a project for the purpose of compliance by the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission with their municipal separate storm sewer system. They're widening their roadway, and in the process, they'll be filling some wetlands. So they need to address that, and they have a permit that lets them do that, and that's what we're going to talk about. So the Watershed address is Stony Run, was where we visited in East Cocalico Township, goes to Cocalico Creek, then Conestoga River, Susquehanna River, Chesapeake Bay. It's actually a tiny area, but super interesting. We're excited to share it with you. The adjacent land use is multifamily residential. You see there's some townhouses right there. And until recently, it was mostly agricultural. To implement the permit requirements, the Turnpike had to do something called a pollutant reduction plan that focused, not surprisingly, in part on phosphorus, nitrogen, and sediment. And they have goals of reducing those. And we'll talk more about what these specific BMPs are that they implemented to do that. Sarah's next.
Sediment and pollution are relatively hidden problems, but these are obvious to the people who they impact. They're obvious to the naked eye and really costly when the road floods. When we visited, a township employee reported that this road floods every storm, so that's a major impact. It's really important that you'd address the root cause. East Cocalico Township had tried planting a riparian buffers in the past, but it didn't work. And it didn't work because lawn mowing companies complete as many jobs in one day as they can. And nobody really notices if they run over small shrubs. Next. The goal was to do four things, really. Remove the legacy sediment, realign the stream, plant more than 30,000 plants, and anchor that construction sediment. By reducing the slope, this slows down the water flow, and that allows more time for water to infiltrate and get down to the well, anyway, the roots, if you look to the right on that big picture, the roots of that tree are very, very exposed, and eventually that tree will fall into the stream. Just to the left of that, you can see that there's a burlap mat, and that is the beginning of the project renovation. And John is standing on that mat, crouching on that mat, indicating how much sediment has been removed. And these mats are all made of natural substances and they'll decompose over time, and not like the plastic netting that sometimes is sold at the Home Depot store. Next.
So John, and I should have said up front, John Kazitz is the person who hosted us, and he is a consultant at RES, which is implementing the project for the Turnpike Commission. On the left, this is upstream of the project. Look how much sediment just stepping in, disturbed, how turbid it is. You can't see his boot at all. And then on the right, look how crystal clear it appears. And that's in the middle of the project. So that's pretty telling. You can see rocks and deadwood and other things.
So there's a thick mat of grasses, and the wildflowers will grow like sod, and they'll stop that water from coming down the slope with such high velocity. The native trees and shrubs will anchor the soil with deeper roots, and they also provide shade to the stream and habitat for wildlife. It's not enough, so that kind of is, you can see the live stakes that are planted there, and the stick-ups, we'll talk about that perhaps, and just these tiny little shrubs that are just noted or indicated by the bamboo stakes. Next. One of the keys is maintenance, and it's really not enough for a bulldozer to move the dirt around. The land has to heal, and the plants and the wildlife and the microorganisms all need to survive. And then the stream will respond. And when that happens, the sediment and the pollutants will go down, and that is when the company will be paid. Next.
So we, I'm sorry, out of order. Okay, so
That's
no.
there we go. That's for me.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Like I said, two monitors. Sorry.
The stream will improve when the invasives are removed and the native plants become established. Site is overplanted to allow for some failures, for some plant failures. And I pulled on a number of these live stakes and shrubs, and almost all of them seemed well rooted. Next.
So we ran the opportunity score. We went through that exercise, and you can see that the rank of this particular property is a 401 out of the approximate 1,000 catchments in Lancaster County, and that the color coding tells us that it's a moderate priority for restoration. And you can see where the restoration is meaningful with the before and after slides.
Lori, we got a note here, so we're gonna whip through these next ones. So go ahead,
Okay.
next slide. We're gonna
Okay.
talk about the challenges. So we listed 4. Number 1 is the effective maintenance. Next. You can see that mowing is a whole lot easier and the damage is really silent. The second challenge is public engagement. I think it's really important. We can have a far more successful project if the people are engaged, and we can do this a number of ways. Next. Next. And overall, if we have appealing programs with accessible walkways and just signs that teach without even knowing that they're teaching, that's really important. Next.
So another challenge is getting buy-in from homeowners. The way that in this particular community, it has a homeowners association. So the mechanism is there's a covenant that they sign, the homeowners, when they buy their properties. But not surprisingly, a lot of homeowners don't read all the paperwork at the time they buy their homes. I know I didn't. There's a lot to sign. And so for some people, it's a rude awakening, but they're still bound by it. So that's a challenge. Also, the notion of landscaping norms, where everybody just wants to mow their grass and not necessarily have this feature in their backyard. On the other hand, though, it actually does increase property value. And over time, it's hoped that most people embrace it. So the other challenge is that the Turnpike Commission has hired the consultant to work with them to maintain these BMPs in perpetuity forever. I'm a cynic. It's hard to imagine anything lasting forever, but I hope it does. It would be great, but that could be a challenge.
So this is about the end of our program, but I would advise anybody who's visiting a newly renovated floodplain to do it when the ground is frozen and the mosquitoes haven't hatched. So next. Big shout out to John Kasich of RES. He showed us in 2 hours that just really excited about the program, and he was really pleased. And then finally, this is a bonus. I went back today to the site. We had 1 inch of rain, and this is what the site looks like today. It was pretty slippery on these slopes, but the stream is in the center there. You can see that S, and it is flooding sideways. The water is not crashing through. I just wanted to share that I went back today to see what would happen after 1 inch of rain. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. We have about 1 minute for questions.
Did you time us by any chance?
I did.
And
9 minutes and 41 seconds.
we
Oh.
thought it was 5, and then we realized it was 3 to 5, and we're like, how can anybody do this in 3? We can't even do it in 5.
I know, Beth, we're in big trouble.
We are.
Any questions?
And
Can
I just
you-
saw your message. I was multitasking, Allison. I only just now saw, please wrap it up. So I apologize.
Nah, Sarah's on it. All good.
Can you explain the reforming it into an S part of the project?
I'll take that, Lori. When actually this works on streets too. It's really common in developments. A straight roadway, think about freeways, you go fast. They're designed to go fast. When you introduce curves and changes in terrain, that slows everything down automatically. But when it comes to water, all of that water is carrying sediment. So if it's not wearing away at the stream banks by crashing into it, causing a lot of turbulence, that is what's going to help with maintaining that stream bed.
Super interesting. Thank you.
Sarah, you're my go-to now for shapes and land. Between this and instead of this, and now S curves. You're on it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being our first ones this evening. And great job getting to know the guys at East Cocalico and RES. All right. Michael and Leif, you're up.
All right.
All right. I think everybody should be able to see it.
Shout out Culleton Park. So
Yes, I can literally see it right now from the window. I'm looking out.
yes. I can't wait for this one.
All right, so yeah, we went to Colton Park. The watershed address was it flows into the Conestoga River, which is part of the lower Conestoga River watershed, and then into the Susquehanna River, and then into the Chesapeake Bay. It has an opportunity score of 41, which is interesting, and a rank of 17, which I thought was interesting that it was so low in the total catchments. And so Water Street has super interesting history, and that's where Colton Park is. It used to be called Farnham Park. But Water Street is called Water Street because it initially was a stream that flowed into the Conestoga. And it's, still does kind of in a way today. It used to be called Roaring Brook, but it had a lot of different names. In the 1700s, when Lancaster was first being built, it was used to remove all the waste that people were, wasting away. And in 1745, it was converted into a sewer using stone to line the sides of the stream. And in 1870, it was paved over, and it was later used for a railroad and then for streets. And it wasn't fully developed until 1930, which I thought was interesting. Um, and in 1935 is when treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant on New Danville, was opened. And so, even though through the hundreds of years, a lot of things changed, it's the water from this location still flows into the Conestoga, but now it goes in two ways. One of them is through the New Danville location, and the other is when the water it rains too much and it overflows and it goes into the Conestoga. The surrounding landscape. So for anyone who has not been to Culleton Park, it's in the south side of Lancaster, and it's in the city, so super urban landscape. And I included some features that are super cool because not even a lot of parks have all these features, like a pool, which I thought the pool was specifically really cool because it was kind of like a memento to the park's history. And there was a mural that we'll see later on that also pays due to that. There was new, uh, when they were first building this, they considered adding porous pavement into the basketball fields like they did. I think it was on 6th Street Park, 3rd Street Park, something like that. But which they didn't end up doing because of the expenses, but they uh, did change the baseball field so that the flow would not erode so much. Um, and other runoff managements. I included pictures from when it was first built in 2017, 2018, and then on the right are the pictures that we took. And we're in the winters, so it looks different, but I think it is interesting to see the kind of development, what it looks like now versus what it kind of should have looked like. And I kind of talked about that a little bit before, and we'll talk about that later as one of the challenges of this. But you can see how important it is to continue um, maintenance on the plants. Other really interesting best management practices were the installation of the native plants. There are so many, pretty much all the ones that we looked at were native, uh, from the trees to the shrubs. And another thing that was cool was there's an infiltration bed underneath the parking lot, um, in order to, further filter all these waters. And something that I had never seen before was a leaf catcher in the gutter, um, which is kind of a small thing, but it I've always thought like you see all those leaves in the gutter, and that's such a uh issue, and leaves are so important for the plants themselves. So that was something that I thought was really neat.
All right, as for the maintenance needs and challenges, while going through the park, one maintenance need was already pretty obvious, and that was managing trash and litter. Given the surroundings of the park, which is all urban, it's obvious that trash is going to be an ongoing maintenance need. There was a decent amount of trash within the rain basins and some of the other stormwater facilities. Other maintenance needs include regular trimming and plant shrub maintenance, like removal of invasives and unwanted plants in order to keep the natural vegetation established, which also ties into regular just BMP maintenance. For example, like the subsurface infiltration bed underneath the parking lot would have to be checked, occasionally, as well as clearing the debris traps within the inlet and outlet structures, which I have in the middle picture there on the slide. Erosion was another issue that I believe will be an issue also. When we were there was a on the western side of the park, it's quite sloped up to the surrounding development, and a large chunk of this slope was just bare, no grass or anything, just exposed dirt, which will obviously be eroded away quite fast. If you want to go to the next slide.
Yep.
Okay, and for public engagement and education, so for education, the park was clearly designed with public education in mind. For example, as you can see, they have a mural painted on one of the buildings there that really kind of shows like the importance of stormwater, and emphasizes like community and stuff. And they even included easy to see plaques with information about the project, as you can see in the bottom picture. It discusses the importance of clean water and benefits of things like native plants. And I included a section called passive education, just to, it's not like totally in your face, but it's kind of, when you're there, it gets into your head. So what I had put is like by beautifying the area through either the native plants or other decorations, which they have a lot of like eco-friendly, like using recycled materials for the fence posts around the playground. It passively educates people. And I think one example is like, oh, if you're there, people can see these native plants and think, oh, this will be good in my yard. And also the murals also just kind of shows the importance of water, and it's very community focused. The park was created partly by the people of the surrounding community. They used feedback from these people when designing the park in the first place, which really cements the concept of community communicated by this park. And as far as more opportunities to enhance the project's capacity to educate and engage, there will always be more that can be done. But I think this park project does a great job compared to other parks that I've seen to educate and engage the community in a tasteful way, in my opinion. Okay. And that is all I have.
Yeah, I think just to add on, was such a long process. I think, and that was such a key part to the success of the park, is that it wasn't like they didn't just take 1 year to talk to the community. It was several years. Even just for the process of the mural, it was 2 years just to figure out, just for the artist to figure out like what was the message that they want to really share. So it was really cool just to learn about who everybody who was involved. RGS Associates were the landscape architects. So it was really cool.
All right, thanks. Thank you for Culleton Park story.
When I grew up, it was Farnham Park and it was a hole. So it looks a lot better now.
Yeah, I know. It was fun. I was telling Leif, like, I had never really gone there because uh when I was growing up, there would be no reason for me to go to Water Street. So it was really cool to see how different it is, and um how people really use the space. I like, one of the things I noticed were the long tables, just so that people play dominoes. I love that.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys, for showing us another project. We have time for one question.
I just want to say that the community engagement efforts are really good in comparison to what was going on at East Calico, which was almost nothing. But that project is young. This project is well underway. So I think this has a high probability of success.
I just also want to give a shout out to Jackie, because some of those, like the information around the trees, that's like an initiative that Jackie did with Zoe to have that education in the park. So props to Jackie. And also you should definitely come to the park in like the spring or the summer, because the winter doesn't do it justice. Like those beds actually are full in the summertime. At least there's some that's a little sparse, but there's some that are really beautiful and that fill in really nice. So definitely swing by in the summer when it's a little fuller.
That's awesome. Like you said, Michael, the city did so much planning and so many different phases to it and putting together multiple funding sources, multiple goals achieved with it. And I say that only because I know that CAP funding was one source. We funded part of that project with the countywide action plan dollars. So,
We actually visited that site for a PA Master Naturalist training, so
oh, nice.
that's cool.
Good deal. All right. Well, let's move on to hear about some more best management practices for compare just information's sake. That was 9 minutes, 35 seconds. So if everybody can keep it shrinking down a little bit more, that would be great to try to stick to that 5 minutes. I know it's really hard. I know I'm so glad you're excited to talk about everything. Jenny and Beth, you're up.
Okay, hold on there. Can everybody see that? Okay, go ahead, Beth.
Okay, let me get my write-up up here. Okay, Jenny and I visited the Cocalico Creek at Autumn Hills site. Cocalico is a Lenape word that means snake dens. And so we were on the lookout, even though they were probably hibernating. This is a neat cooperative project whose restoration began in 2023. The Autumn Hills development is a 176 lot subdivision in Ephrata Township. Ephrata Township approached the developer to sell them 16.2 acre parcel for public recreation area. Ritu joined the $817,000 project, helping with the restoration efforts. The address is 49 Autumn Blaze Way. Little Cocalico Creek flows into the Cocalico Creek, which flows into the Conestoga River near Brownstown, to the Susquehanna River, and then into the Chesapeake Bay. The entire Cocalico Creek watershed covers 140 miles.
The watershed is rated red. Its opportunity score is 29.78, and it ranks 335 out of the 1,035 catchments. One of the features of this project are the great educational signs that are around throughout the park, as well as trash cans and a doggy poop station. All the ground cover at this time of year looks pretty much the same to us, but there are many native riparian plantings, including 3.3 acres of riparian buffer with 725 plantings, and there were stakes beside the plastic circles for the trees. 4.4 acres of meadow and 5.5 acres of native grass and shrubs, plus a rain garden near the parking lot, which they built, that is for 13 vehicles with an accessible space. There is also a bioretention basin, a paved trail that will connect to the Warwick to Ephrata rail trail, a kayak launch, and an ADA fishing pier. And in addition, they built stream structures to slow the stream flow and divert the flow from the stream banks.
So here's another sign with the rules and a shot of owls that can be found in the nesting areas where there's forested areas around the site. The next few shots show you what the native plantings look like during the summertime and are from Ritu. They attract many pollinators and enhance the site for all types of wildlife. The entire site has been resculpted into terraces which slow stormwater from the development, as well as floodwater from the creek. It is a mixture of forested land, new tree plantings, and meadows. Now you get to see our pics of what the site looks like now. You can see the stream had some obvious pockets of ice, and it was obvious there had been some flooding into the plain. Here you can see the walking path, the hill view, the easement, and the creek. What the area around the path looks like in the summertime, the wooded areas around the creek, indications of previous flooded areas.
Okay. And although this looks like an intentional grassy path, it's actually an easement for PPL and the sewer authority. And then here is another view of the frozen creek. And in this picture, if you look on the right-hand side, you can see that there are boards along with the rocks and everything. And they put them there so that the fish and the turtles have an additional place to hide out. Kara Callipson from Ritu was very enthusiastic about these things. You can see that the creek is flowing pretty quickly, and these are all man-made additions to it. And let's see here. And you can see it's prior to some of the earth moving, the banks were very steep, just as they said in Sarah's presentation, but they did a lot of earth moving. And now the rocks, grasses, and trees slow the filtration of the floodwaters.
Okay, so here's a pic of the kayak launch. There's a fishing pier. And this pic shows the runoff problem in one section. The township expected more problems like this, but so far it has not been a big deal. The bigger problem has been the invasive species. Japanese hops showed up, and they had to bring a special contractor in. This year, poison hemlock was discovered and needed to be treated. The township estimates that the cost to maintain the trees and shrubs will be $5,000 annually. The trail connects with the rail to trail. The township expects maintenance costs to increase. Right now, people seem to pose the biggest problem. We saw trash and an old tire in the area, as well as some minor vandalism to the trees and creek.
Oops, sorry about that. Okay, this project improved the water quality and the habitats of the fish and aquatic life. It decreased sediment and nutrient pollution. Sediments were down 128,000 pounds a year, phosphorus 195 pounds, and nitrogen was down 521 pounds. And with the addition of the riparian buffer and planting more trees and changing the banks, water temps also came down. And it's improved habitat for native birds, small mammals, and pollinators. And we think that this is a great spot to educate and engage the public, as well as the landowners in the Autumn Hills development. And it's just a beautiful spot.
How bad did we go over our time?
I want to make sure you were done.
Oh yeah, I'm done. I'm sorry.
That was great. That was great. Congratulations, ladies. That was wonderful to hear about a suburban location. Yeah, what a good mix we've already had.
Yeah, all these projects are very different, but wonderfully impactful projects. And you really took us there, all three presenters so far. Learned a lot.
Thanks. I at today's session, when we were doing the listening thing, I know someone brought about up about return on investment. And I thought this was a really expensive project. But I mean, it's very large too, much larger than say Cullerton Park or the first thing. But I mean, I don't know how, frankly, you measure return on investment. I mean, the fact that the sediments were down and the chemicals and that it's not flooding into people's homes and it's beautiful, but I mean, if we were explaining this to the commissioners or something, or some of the funding groups, how do you measure return on investment, and what are they looking for?
Yeah, it's a great question. And in some ways, some of this is, very difficult to quantify. I mean, there's the whole, entire academic field of environmental economics and how do you evaluate this kind of thing. But to have a walking path and a kayak launch, and you're getting people using this site, and a lot of positive mental health and quality of life experiences. That's difficult to measure. And Allison, your quote on Leopold in the land ethic, he talks a lot about economic valuation of nature, and that there's a lot of things to value about the land that we can't quantify in economical ways. And I think that's very true.
Well, and I was, one of the things that stood out is how many different animals are using this as a habitat. So I think there's the people impact, and then there's the animal impact, and then there's the plant impact and the stream. So it seems quite multifaceted.
Yes.
Well, Jenny and Beth, thank you so much. It was really wonderful to hear about Autumn Hills and what world is like in the Cocalico watershed and that part of the watershed. So next we're going to hear, for your information, it was 7 minutes and 41 seconds. For next, we have Alex and Melissa, followed by Abby and Jackie. Alex, do you need co-host? You're good.
Nope, I got it.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, hopefully I can talk really fast and be done in 3 minutes, maybe, but I'll keep it short. All right. So for our project, we have the Longs Park Natural Treatment System, or it's got a few names, the Longs Park Wetlands. And it's a great innovative project by the city of Lancaster that was completed in 2023 for, I think, almost $2 million. Provides a lot of, obviously, water quality benefits, wildlife benefits. It's a park amenity, all kinds of good stuff like that, that we'll kind of talk about. And we'll make sure we'll get to all of the reductions in nutrients, and maybe it's opportunity score. Luckily, I had Melissa, so she actually did the homework assignment parts of this with me. But first, I just want to talk about, I think, what's really important with, I think, these projects is a lot of the why, why they do this project. So that's kind of the first part we want to talk about. So there's some of the why that's kind of site specific was they had some pond issues. I know the pond had some clarity problems, but if you zoom out and kind of look at the city of Lancaster, I kind of put here, can you or how do you have a clean stream here? This kind of looks at this wicked problem that Matt and Alice have been talking about. So you live in the age of Google Maps, where you can get these great aerials and see what the land use is all around our project sites. You see the park, and just look at what in the bottom right there, you see the city of Lancaster And Longs Park, just see what the land use is, how much impervious surface you have there. And the question is, I think a lot of people would say, can you have a clean stream here? Can you have clean water quality? And really, luckily, I think everyone in this class would agree you can. And that's in an urban waterway, there's really two main systems that you have infrastructure from man-made environment, a built environment, and a natural system. You have basically two kinds of systems. You have a combined and a separate sewer system. So this is a map of Lancaster City. So what you have here is Leif and Michael talked about Colton Park and the rain gardens, all that good stuff. And a lot of in that area, what you're trying to do is keep the water out of the sewer system. So you're kind of capturing water, keeping it, disconnecting impervious surfaces. And then you also have that pink area in the city. And that's where you have separate stormwater systems, but you have stormwater drains, and they're all discharging to streams. So you don't have natural streams. It's all tied together. And you have to manage them together. And I'll pass it off to Melissa.
Am I on?
You're on.
All right, so sorry, lost signal. So this project, it treats 44,000 gallons per day, up to 16 million gallons per year. The cycle water is pumped and filtered to reduce nutrients and sediment. Runoff from Route 30 and the park itself. 50% phosphorus, 32% nitrogen, and 95% total solids. Help me off that one.
Total suspended solids.
Total suspended solids are captured through the project.
Suspended sediment. Yep. All right, so that's kind of the overview. Like I said, this is the zoomed out level. You have these streams and waterways and this urban area. First of all, I wanted to also add it's in Longs Park. So there's, along with an urban environment, there's some benefits that you have naturally. Who here hasn't been to Longs Park? This is probably the only project where everyone in this class will have gone to this project. So there's a lot of potential for obviously environmental benefits, but also education. We'll kind of get to that, talk about that as well. But there's tons of information out there in this project too. You guys can Google this and you'll get more information than you could possibly even want. And there's more on the way. So just want to walk through the treatment just so you guys, this is so cool. I could nerd out on this kind of part of it for a while, but just walk you through it and so you understand some of how it functions. It is a natural treatment system. So it's a treatment train is what they refer to it as. It's 5 steps. It's a small pond with floating islands, 2 man-made marshes, a sand filter, before it's ultimately returned to the pond. So altogether, really what this is the same kind of thing we saw at the wastewater plant. It's a lot of natural, biological, and chemical processes of settling solids, biological uptake, to basically reduce sediment and nutrients. It does it here. There's a couple of specific ways. It captures runoff from Route 30, a deep pool. There's not enough time to go through this, so I'm just going to encourage you guys to look this up for more detail. But really, I wanted to point out a couple of the cool, I think, processes in this, and that is the second part of this is an iron enhanced media filter. So that what that does is it adds additional, basically cleans additional phosphorus out of the system. So, nutrients, we're trying to get phosphorus out, we're trying to get nitrogen out. That's one area we're getting extra out that way. And all these different kinds of systems, there's these floating islands, there's deep pools, there's shallow, there's emergent vegetation, there's submerged vegetation. All of those were on purpose. It's gravity fed. All this together was designed this way to be a natural treatment system, and it's kind of lower, it's more cost efficient, can often be less maintenance than more traditional like kinds of systems, and with lower operating costs and just obviously the community benefit.
Some of the problems that I see that could be potentially a problem are invasives such as non-native cattails. We actually saw some of them moving into the project already. Sediment removal can be costly. You can also get hazardous spills that come off of Route 30 that can contaminate the system. That can be costly to clean up. Invasive grasses, algae growth, they do have a type of management system. Forget what they put into the water, but it's something to help reduce the algae growth. And possible erosion issues I see can be a problem on heavy downpours. Next.
So this is just kind of the final steps. Like I said, it's continuation of a wetland systems. The final ones, like I said, it goes to Long's Park Pond, and then it's pumped back up. So it's a cycle, and it will cycle back through again, removing more sediment and nutrients, and ultimately making the pond clearer, and cleaner pond, and obviously all the benefits along the way.
Only one other problem that I saw was the present signage that's currently there. They only have signage on each end of this project. This project is very long. So I think it'd be more efficient to have signage at each of the individual pools and wetlands to help better explain what each section of the project does. Like I was in the middle of the project trying to figure out what was going on, and I looked down and there's no signage, but all the way at the other end. So I was kind of lost in the middle there. So that's about it.
Yeah, and this, we wanted to make sure we included our opportunity score in here too. I did want to just add, I know 5 minutes goes really fast. So I did want to add that some of the more stats in here about the acreage it captures. Back to that wicked problem. So this was designed, Park City's right next to it. It captures, this is an amazing project, but it doesn't capture and treat any of the impervious area around Route 30, some of that, but maybe Allison and Matt know more about this, but it doesn't capture any of the Park City. It does have it was built with the capacity to hopefully later be able to direct impervious surface there and include it. But there's a number of reasons that it wasn't included. So I just wanted, and that's part of that whole wicked problem about social and all kinds of other issues.
The opportunity score for this catchment is 30.70, and its rank out of 1,035 total catchments is 307. The address is 1441 Harrisburg Pike. It is part of the Little Conestoga Watershed, which goes to the Conestoga, then to the Susquehanna, and then to the Chesapeake. The end.
Yeah.
Great photo to end on. Thanks, everybody. Nice job with an urban project, but a totally different type of project. Thanks for sharing about Long's Park. I'm going to allow one question.
I just have to say, I agree. When you spend millions of dollars on something and then you don't talk about it in a passive way, what a waste of effort. So
I do want to add, just because it's kind of exciting, and I haven't even told Melissa this, that the city is putting signage in. So they're putting a network of signs in. It's a part of the Clean Water Fund for the partners, but so that it will explain all those different things that we never would have time to explain about all those processes and the different parts of the project. So stay tuned and come visit it this summer. Maybe it should be in by later this summer.
Yeah. great field trips for kids to learn about this stuff.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Melissa and Alex. So good to hear about this project and some of the details, but always more to learn, more awards to find out about because the city's won a couple of them already. And we'll be moving on to our next BMP presentation. We're going to hear from Abby and Jackie. Alex and Melissa, your time was 10 minutes and 30 seconds.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you should have just shut me off. All right, sorry.
You're getting close, but I don't want to do that to anybody. It's so good. You guys are so passionate about this. I love it. Just keep your eye on the chat for the next two, okay? Let's go. Abby and Jackie, you're up.
Sorry, I guess my for some reason there's like a privacy setting on the computer for sharing the screen. Wait, here we go. Bum, 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 bum.
Oh yeah.
Yep, you're good.
All
Good.
right. So Abby and I visited Andy III's dairy farm in Mannheim. The Watershed address flows from an unnamed tributary to Shearer's Creek, to Upper Chickies Creek, to Lower Chickies Creek, to the Susquehanna, and then to the Chesapeake Bay. It has a high opportunity score and rank, which makes it a really exciting and impactful BMP restoration project. Next.
Why isn't it going? There we go.
There we go. To set the scene, this is an agricultural site. Andy unfortunately inherited bad infrastructure. That means heavy manure and other pollutants run off from multiple sites on his farm directly into the unnamed tributary. The first is on the picture on the left, where you can see that slanting pathway. That is obviously immediately beside the unroofed and unprotected cow barnyard. So the manure flows right into it. Then second is the picture up top, is a heavy use cow pasture where cows could walk and poop and you name it directly into that stream. And then lastly were silage bunkers that were uncovered and deteriorating because of age, causing silage runoff. The unnamed tributary flows right into Shearer's Creek, which you're seeing in these pictures, which is also located on the farm, and is a watershed with extensive forested headwaters that supports Class A wild trout, but the population was significantly suffering. So this stream needed a makeover, and we heard it straight from the trout's mouth. As you can also see in these pictures, I'll go back for a second, Abby. The 800 linear feet of stream had eroding stream banks and was directly receiving that runoff. And also has, as you can tell from these pictures, a lack of tree coverage before the stream.
So here's just an overhead shot of the farm so that you can see exactly where Shearer's Creek runs. And then this is the unnamed tributary that runs directly to the farm. Now, with all the things that Jackie's mentioned, the farmer set a goal of 7 best management practices that he wanted to try and implement in the farm. So the ones that have been completed so far are stream restoration. There were 735 linear feet of stream restoration that was completed. Fencing was completed around the tributary. The farmer implemented this himself. First stage of creating a new barn was completion of a pit for liquid manure. This was completed in December. So it's basically the foundation of the barn so they could continue barn construction. And then as a temporary solution, the silage was relocated to silage bags, which helped control the leachate, and was moved across the street to make it a little bit further away from the tributary. Originally, it was stored on these cement open air slabs. Projects that are currently in process right now are the continuation of that barn. As I mentioned, the pit was the foundation, and when we were there, we were actually able to see the framework going up for that barn. And that project is set to be completed in May. And once that's completed, they can decommission the current barnyard over here where the cows like to hang out. And then the next thing that will be in motion is 15 acres of a riparian buffer that will be all along the section of Shearers Creek that's on his property, as well as the tributary that runs up to his house. And then for future goals, the farmer has the silage bunkers, wants a more permanent solution so that they're covered and more controlled, and then also wants a mortality composting facility for deceased cows. Those are projects that don't currently have funding, but again, are ultimate goals for the farmer.
So zooming in to take a close look at the completed stream restoration. Before the BMPs, the power of water during high rainstorms was forcibly pounding into the banks and causing erosion. But by installing 3 of these BMPs, the picture on the left, you can see a slanted log vein, so that the water can go up that slant. In the middle, we have the staked coconut matting that helps stabilize the bank, and then on the right is the mud sills along the edge there. So that protects the banks, restores the floodplain, allowing water to rise up and splash over and dissipate that force, and creates specifically the mud sills create shade coverage and beloved hideouts for the trout. For future maintenance needs, we anticipate regrading the crossing on the bottom picture. Those typically last 10 to 20 years. And then for the mud sills and the log veins, they will deteriorate and break down over time, experience surface erosion. So continuing to monitor those.
So overall, we felt that this project would definitely be a great demonstration site just because of the multifaceted nature of it, the fact that it's almost a complete farm overhaul. It's not only showcasing environmental benefits, but also showcasing just pragmatic, functional benefits of how you can really make a farm efficient. And we feel that the overall benefits are that it really is eliminating a direct source pollution. And it's also utilizing a lot of different grants that we feel like neighboring farms, as you can see from this map. There's a farm just right here and a few others along the way that are also along Shearers Creek. So the hope would be that if this farm is able to communicate with his neighbors and showcase everything that he was able to do, that talk will get around and it kind of can be passed along the lane. And so we just, the trout are happy and so are we. The end.
Yay for happy trout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice job, ladies. Thanks so much.
Yes.
Well, if you can catch a big trout in that stream, that's going to be one of those things that gets out and everybody will want to go there. So, yeah, well done, Andy. Big nut to try to crack there.
Matt knows all the nitty gritty of that one.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Matt's been invited to fish there, so
Yeah,
he can
I'll
show us
test
the
it out
trout.
this spring, maybe. I feel, yeah, I'll report back to everyone.
Yeah.
Well, let's give time for one question. And Alex, you have to give a shout out to the other part of that area as well.
Yeah, just upstream.
Yeah.
So yeah, just upstream, downstream, just downstream.
Just upstream. Just upstream.
Oh, it's upstream?
Yeah.
Just upstream. Is Hope Episcopal Church, and it's a place that they're building a rain garden, and should be done this spring, but we're also having a little celebration. So if anybody wants to go check out that area, Shearers Run, It's open to the public. It's March 20th. I have to follow up. March 26th, I'm pretty sure, is the date in the evening. So we'll have a bunch of partners there, like Mac Bugs and all that good stuff, like you can look at from Shears Creek. Yeah, come check it out. I'll share the details.
The pastor is super excited and he's really fun to talk with.
He's a riot. Yeah, he's great. Everyone part of that project is wonderful, but he's especially a character.
Are we gonna have any talking trout?
Like,
yeah, like Billy Bass, but
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that was the inspiration for our presentation.
I love it.
Well done.
Thanks.
How did
Lee.
we do on time?
7 minutes, 19 seconds.
Whoa.
a lot better than us. So good job.
It's so hard. It's so hard. There's so much good things to talk about. Well, we got one more excellent project to hear about. So Ken and Christina, you guys are up.
All right.
Perfect.
Let me go here. We'll do it. Go. Okay. All right. The Conewago Creek Restoration Project was conceived in 2005 to meet Londonderry's MS4 requirements for flooding mitigation. In May 2022, construction began on phases 1 and 2.
The project site is located in Mount Joy Township, Lancaster County. And the northwest side of the creek is in Londonderry Township, which is actually Dauphin County. The address is 300 Hoffer Road, Elizabethtown, PA. And the Conewago Creek is part of the Conewago Watershed, which flows directly into the Susquehanna River and then into the Chesapeake Bay. According to the Watershed mapping tool, the Conewago Creek ranks number 893 out of 1,035 as far as priority catchments, and it's a part of the Huck 12 watershed.
Land use in the area is pretty simple. It's primarily agricultural. There is one commercial building nearby. And it is forested with the Conewago Recreation Trail and the adjacent Shaw Family Nature Preserve. The BMPs for this project included 4,877 feet of stream restoration, including stream bank regrading that you can see in the after picture at the top there. 15.2 acres of floodplain restoration to historical conditions. The removal of 125 cubic yards of legacy sediment, some of which you can see in the background of the middle picture there. The township employees referred to that as Mount Londonderry. It was one of 3 such piles, 2 of which have been sold off and removed. And 2,988 feet of additional stream created to further assist in flood mitigation. Prior to this project, there were roughly, on average, 6 to 8 local flooding events a year. In 2024, there was only 1.
Yeah, which is awesome. So because the site has several types of BMPs implemented, there are a few maintenance needs that exist for the project. These include sediment removal, invasive plant management, ongoing water quality monitoring, and then the mowing. There's a whole meadow in the middle. And then there's also more plans to connect mowed grass trails into the existing trail system to help expand recreation opportunities there.
So how does this project improve water quality both locally and downstream? It reduces yearly sediment load by 509 tons or over 1 million pounds, which creates expanded flood capacity and removes nutrients from the system. It restores on-site wetlands, creates a more resilient creek. It expands and enhances wildlife habitat. Since this project started, herons have returned to this area, so that's pretty cool as well. If you want to learn more about this project, I will put a link to the project story map in the chat, and you can also hear about it on episode 1 of Clean Water Conversations with Monique Dykman.
Thanks.
That's us.
Well, you guys were so good at keeping to the time limits.
We really did try to like plan that because
Thank you,
We were probably
guys.
pretty close, right? What were we at?
3 minutes, 36 seconds.
Uh,
Whoa.
the pros.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a standing ovation. Very good.
Oh. Between that and Matt's home watershed.
Well
Oh, boy.
done. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I do believe that somebody gave an hour-long presentation sometime between that the concept and the start of the your name is on their the story map.
Well, there was I don't know if Monique told you about the Bio Blitz that was held out there this past June, I think. It was we just heard a presentation from Katie Bartling, who was with us the first session at we have regular meetings of Conewaga Creek Watershed Partners, and she presented on that. And I forget the numbers, but just tremendous amount of species were documented. There was a nesting grasshopper sparrow that they saw and found, breeding brown thrasher. I'm looking at some of my notes. Summer tanager, some really cool birds, and silver-haired and tricolored bats also observed. Yeah.
Okay, I would have loved to see any of that. I
Yeah.
didn't really see. So I'm
Not
excited to
this
go.
time of year. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to go see it like in the spring and summer and actually see even like with the black-eyed Susans and everything. So I'm excited to see it like in the next season.
For sure.
Very good. Any questions for our presenters?
I want to know how you did that presentation. That's not PowerPoint. What did you use?
That's called Prezi.
Wow, that's wonderful.
It has like some animation features, Ken, or yeah. Cool.
Very good. Can tell you're a marketing guy.
Thanks.
I thought everyone did a fantastic job. Yeah. Length of presentations aside, I mean, like Allison said, there's just so much good stuff to talk about. Yeah, I felt I was at each one of these sites, and they were all very, very different, and a lot of different avenues and things to talk about. But you really dug into them and took us there. Nice job.
Yeah, nice job, everybody. Getting to know what these best management practices are. You could spend forever researching all the scientific studies behind it, but I feel like getting in the field, like you said, Matt, diving into it yourself, knowing the people and the connections and why does it matter to that community? Why does it matter to that watershed? Makes it real. So one of my final questions for you this evening is, there's lots of places that you could have gotten tripped up in this assignment. I'm curious about the connection to, or the part of the assignment that was to connect with the project lead. What was that like for you? And was it a good thing? Was it a tripping point? I'm curious to hear about that part of the experience.
Well, Kara from Ritu was very accommodating and very enthusiastic about the project. And I talked to a couple other people at Ritu as well, and they were all very helpful and sad, like when I told them about some of the things that we had seen, and they said, "Oh, that's upsetting." But they were very helpful, and she said, well, she gave me her card and she said, you know, if you need any other help on anything or you have any more questions, contact us.
That's great. That's great. If you don't know, Ritu is a local engineering firm, and they're across the state, but Kara she is the MS4 coordinator for Ritu, and she has at least 14 different clients that are just municipalities to manage their permit. Leif, your eyes are getting real big.
I had a question. This is, you know what? It's 8:30. I'm not going to ask this question but it's just something I know with like the assignment being like Chesapeake TMDL and all these assignments with people looking at reductions in nutrients and sediment and tons of like sediment. Is there any kind of like education on what that really like means, or like some kind of like quantifying that so that like, I mean, I guess it's the more tons, obviously, the better, but like I have a hard time translating those numbers, I guess I'll say. So like, and I think that's like part of this assignment was to get those numbers. It's just something I would say that would help to understand these projects. That's all. I dropped that out at 8:30. So, but I just wanted to add it because it's something that was dropped on most people's presentation, and I struggle with it.
Yeah, you're right. I feel like it comes up when we talk about whether it's cap goals or Chesapeake Bay driven things. How do you translate tons of sediment into something that is understandable? Some people talk about number of dump trucks. Some
Yeah.
people talk about something that, well, Sarah, what's the shape? What's the direction we should be going?
I definitely took a look at our project. I did. I took a look at our project and there were some really strange numbers in there, but when I did the calculation, it turned out to be 235 waste management trucks, which we can all picture, right? I know I have 4 of them running through my yard, running through my neighborhood every week, 4 of those. And if I have 234, well, that's 60 days of trucks nonstop. But I could not, I'm only using that reference, but I couldn't actually, I was so confused that I said, these numbers are probably based on a bogus figure to begin with, so forget it. But that's what I use. I have to see things visually, and dump trucks is the way to go for me.
Yep. Makes
Great.
sense. Makes sense. Well, Alex, thank you for asking the question, even at 8:30. But I do want to, as a kind of wrap up for tonight, I do want to give a shout out to Kara and to Angie Brackbill, who's the engineer that did Longs Park and was part of Culleton Park. They are 2 outstanding female engineers in this world, and it is March Women's History Month. And so just a shout out to all the ladies superstars in this work and to what they've done, what you all have done, and thank you for spotlighting some of the amazing projects that are happening across Lancaster. And you guys as well, spotlighting yourselves, the crazy amount of research that you've done, connections, and just being able to present. Last time you did a quick impromptu speech. Today you did a full slideshow. There was nobody that tripped up on slides. You all know how to put pieces together to communicate. So thank you for what you did tonight. It was wonderful.
I have one more thing.
Yeah.
Is it possible for you to create a document with addresses of each of the projects? I know people put them in there, but if I like just happen to be in Ephrata and want to stop by and see it, that would be wonderful if we could have. And I've never been to Longs Park. Now I want to go. I'm probably the only one.
I think they're in that project list document that you were building, but if not, we'll
Right.
add them there.
They are there. I was just hoping to get them like all
No,
in one, but I guess I can pull
we
them
can add
from.
them.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
I
Thank
can
you.
share something, Lori.
Thank you.
I did map them a while ago. So I
Thank you.
can
That'd be
share
awesome.
something that's a bigger list that has more information about all these projects with you guys if you want them. So
Yeah, I just want to be able to find them. So a map would be optimal. But yeah, I guess I could pull them from the spreadsheet as well. Thanks.
I have the map. I'll share it with you.
Thank you.
Matt, any final comments for this evening?
I don't think so. It was a really, really nice job by everyone.
Awesome. Well, I'm working on final pieces of logistics for our next session in person. We'll be together on March 29th. We're going to start at an agricultural operation that is TBD. Gordon Hoover is our Lancaster Farmland Trust and Salisbury Township supervisor who's going to be hosting us, but we're finalizing the exact location. So I'll get that agenda out to you at least 1 week in advance so you know the address of where you're going on that morning. And we'll be at Kitchen Kettle Village in the afternoon. You got an assignment, like a homework assignment that has links to a couple YouTube videos and some recent LNP articles about best places to work and some of the agricultural pieces from a book about Amish life and the environment. So some unique pieces to build up to the next session together. But thank you guys for 5 extra minutes of your night tonight and all of the prep work that you put into this presentation, the set of presentations. It was wonderful.
So interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah, everything was great. Learned so much.
Thanks all. Have a good rest
Thanks,
of your
everyone.
week.
See you next
Bye.
time.
Bye-bye.
Good night.